Basilisk vibes. Hello and welcome, Star Wars fans, to this week's episode of Duel of the Ranks, a show where we debate takes so hot they'd melt a planet with twin suns. My name's Brian, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Brody and Brody to debate where this episode ranks amongst all Star Wars content. This week we're discussing The Bad Batch Season 3, Episode 5, The Return, which I felt was a little bit of a misnomer. Like, what do they really return? They already returned last episode, right? Brody, what happens in this episode? Do you have a synopsis ready to roll?
Man, all right, I'm gonna tell you what happened. So Amanda's gone. Since Amanda's gone, I'm gonna have to fill in and just do my darndest with what I saw this episode like 30 minutes ago. So I'm gonna do my best. Basically, what happens? The gang is back together, minus Echo, or not Echo, minus Tech. Tech's supposedly still dead. So they're all back together. They're living on this happy island. It's basically like the Hawaii or like Fiji of Star Wars, right? That's where they're at. So they're all having a good time, but they need to go back and get the other clones. And Echo comes in and they're like, hey, we got to go save these people. And Omega's like, that's what I've been saying. So anyways, and then Hunter's like, we just got you back. You can't go. And she's like, well, I'm gonna. And so then what happens? They all go. But they still don't know enough, any more intel. Like, they don't know the ins and outs because Crosshair, who does end up going with them, well, turns out Hunter still doesn't trust him that much. So, well, they bring him along, but they're like, really, they got a keen eye on him this whole time. So they go back to the winter place that Crosshair was at, and basically Dune worms chase them throughout the episode. And it's the thing that bonds both Crosshair and Hunter. Again, they become friends and kumbaya and everything's great. And they apologize in the end. And now they're ready to become the Bad Batch once more. They've forgiven each other. And now they are ready to go embark upon Tawanuvian, whatever the planet was called. Anyway, a planet that starts with T, to go and, yep, Tetris, to go back and save all of the other clones that are still there. So that's what I remember.
That's pretty much it. It's a very simple and direct story, I felt like, which is, I mean, it's fine. It allows a lot of space for a lot of like really subtle character moments, which is what I really liked about it. Was not just the dialogue between Hunter and Echo or like the big moments, but all the little grunts and nods and like looking away and just like the passive aggressiveness that you feel from Hunter the whole episode. I thought it was like a pretty good way to tie in something that happened in the earlier seasons too, which is something that we noticed pretty early on in the game that they're going to be doing a lot this season. So I thought that was pretty cool, and there's a lot of good little moments like Omega with Crosshair. They're just like besties now. I wasn't expecting them to like stick together as much as they do, because she's been wanting to come back to Hunters, and Wrecker for all this time, and now she's hanging out with Crosshair more, it seems like. So I thought maybe there was maybe a little bit of room for some jealousy about from Hunter towards that, but he seems like he acts pretty maturely. Other than that, I don't know. Other than one moment where he's like, I didn't get the part where he was like, "Yeah, well, did you betray the Empire like you betrayed us? Like, what do you want from him? Like, yeah, he betrayed the Empire. You should be like congratulating him, right?"
He's like, he's just trying to call out his character. He's like, you're just a traitor.
Just a traitor. Yeah. I mean, but
That's what it
he's
seemed
not.
like he was saying.
Yeah, he came back though. He loves Omega. They're tight. They're homies. I don't know. He's a good little brother. That was like such a good line when Omega says, "I'm older than you, little brother."
Yeah, well, what's interesting, I don't remember if they've mentioned this before, but I feel like this confirms that there was no age acceleration for Omega.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, she was technically born before them, and Crosshair definitely seems like I noticed that too. Like he seems way older than the others, so I wonder if he got like quadruple age acceleration, and maybe that's why he's got like worse hand tremors and things going on. Or I don't know if that's related to like PTSD and stuff, but like
Space was burnt to a crisp.
it's true. He got smoked pretty good, didn't he?
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I really enjoyed the episode. What I've enjoyed about this season to this point is that there doesn't really feel like there's a whole lot of filler, which Amanda, who's not here tonight, thinks that this was kind of a filler episode, whereas I completely disagree. This thing is continuing to move a narrative along. Is it dynamic storytelling? Not really. Is it still B, C level quality like a lot of Star Wars content? Absolutely, but
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
passable.
I think I gave it the worst rankings out of, or Amanda did. It was you gave it the highest. Yeah, I thought you and Amanda were gonna have the opposite opinions about it because like the story, not much really happens. Just kind of like a monster of the week that forces them to, work together, kind of like
Martha,
obligatory or whatever. I don't know.
why did you say that name?
But it's definitely not filler. No, it's like good character content and something that was absolutely necessary for them to do. I still just hope there's a lot more room for tension between them throughout the rest of the season. I hope they're not just going to go straight into like pretending nothing ever happened between them or that nothing's changed, That's kind of my biggest concern when there's like characters betraying and switching
We got a
sides or
story to move
repetitive.
along. We don't have time for any more.
Right. I mean,
Close.
we have 16 episodes this season, I believe. 15 episodes, so we're like a third of the way through now. This is the first act,
Wow,
I guess, of this season in a way.
it's only
Um,
episode 5.
yeah. But I do like that they're focusing each episode. I feel like that's something I love about this
Yeah,
season is that each episode is very focused. Like they open up on Pabu, but they don't show any like Pabu stuff. They don't throw it in your face like the other characters. They're just kind of referenced and they don't even like mention the name or they don't really go into what's up with the, the
yeah,
the other clones, and I think that's a really good decision. I think that they'll get to all those
yeah.
things eventually and it just would have gotten in the way of the
Agreed.
drama.
And they didn't touch on Tech's girlfriend at all this episode.
Yeah, that's a big one. Like I feel like so far Tech's kind of been
Forgotten about.
backburnered a little bit. Like there's one really good moment where Crosshair like you can see him visibly take like a sting of pain when Tech is mentioned, and that's like pretty much it. I was really hoping to see the brothers actually like mourn together about this and see some interesting character development or see I could see Hunter maybe blaming Crosshair for it a little bit, like maybe if you had been there things would have gone differently.
Yeah.
So I think there's still a lot of room for that. That's what I'm hoping for the rest of the season. But
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what I'm hoping for besides just maybe some risks here. We're at the finish line, and this storyline, like I was saying last week, it's like it feels like you've already closed it up. Like this would be the end. The Bad Batch are all back together and they can retire. But now they've got to like, okay, no, our mission now is greater than ourselves. We have to go save our remaining brothers. Which, all right, so like I guess that's the last mission.
that's where it's always been going.
Yeah,
It
and
did
so
feel very like Rocky-esque, where how Adrian's always like, Rocky, you can't fight anymore, and Rocky's like, I'm a fighter, Adrian, and she's like, okay. And it was kind of the same thing with Hunter and Omega, like, oh, we just got you back, we're not gonna risk it, and she's like, the hell we ain't, and they end up doing whatever Omega says anyways.
yeah,
Which is like, I'm glad they didn't like exaggerate that drama too much, but it's very in line with Hunter's character, but still like nothing super new, nothing unexpected, nothing truly boundary pushing, and that's why I guess didn't really give it super good marks. Like I see, let's look at our scores here. So Brody gave it an 81, Amanda gave it a 64, and I gave it a 75. So I don't. I'm sad Amanda's not here to explain this because I thought she would be like all into this stuff.
yeah. No, so she's problem is Amanda's a hater. See, let's
The
just start.
problem with Amanda, yeah.
Problem with her, she's a big old hater who hates Star Wars
So negative all the time.
all the time. Last week I had nothing but praise for this show. Or 2 weeks ago. When was the last time? Yeah, it was last week. Last week.
Time means nothing to me anymore. I really don't know.
Wow. Why does time? Wait, hold on. Why does time mean nothing to you?
Oh, just the pandemic and just shutting down my brain for the
It was
past
4
couple
years
of years.
ago.
Yeah, no, I gave up on trying to keep track of what day it is.
What year is it? Who cares?
2000 something, I hope.
You're the year 3000. You would be a Jonas brother. All right.
Nice. But the
Movie.
year it is the best year to be a Star Wars fan because there's so many cool things happening.
Lying. Stop lying. I was in the
No, it's
car
so
today
true.
and I listened to. Have you heard of the podcast Smartless?
Mm-mm. Oh wait, I might have. Oh no, there's a
Jason
sitcom of that name.
Bateman, William Arnett, and Sean Hayes.
Okay, I like Jason Bateman
Yeah,
and
or Will
William
Arnett.
Arnett.
What was
Yeah.
her former William Arnett? Um, anyway, so yeah, they had Adam Driver on their podcast, and
Oh.
unsurprisingly, Adam didn't have a whole lot to say about Star Wars. Sean was like really trying to bring it up, but Adam just really,
He just kept pushing it away.
yeah, just not a lot of love for it. So for me, one of the second most exciting time to be a Star Wars fan was like 2014, right
Yeah.
before Force Awakens comes out.
Yeah.
And then the best time was, I'm sure, like, the 80s. But for me, it was when the prequels came out between episode 2 and episode 3. So for you, why would you believe right now, after all the stuff, I'm not even going to call it garbage because it's not garbage, it's just
Mhm.
stuff.
Some of it is. Some of it's. A lot of it's not. I think it's. We still have all that other stuff, and I still get excited and engaged watching all of those movies that have come out. And yeah. 2014, 2015 was an awesome year for just the speculation and the theories, and then seeing The Force Awakens in theater was by far the most fun I've ever had in a movie. Maybe the most fun I've ever had in 2 hours, like in my life. Like the most going on in my brain in that short period of time. Like it was just an emotional roller coaster, and I still didn't even really like the movie that much. I still like didn't know how to feel about it afterwards. But like that experience was incredible. But right now, this year, Battlefront 2 or the Battlefront Classic Collection is about to come out in like a week from today, I think. So there's going to be a whole bunch of people hopping back on that. I'm still super into the new Battlefront 2. I'm still enjoying it pretty much every night I play it. Um, we've got the Acolyte to look forward to. Like for the first time, something outside of the Skywalker saga is about to happen. So that's really the most anticipated thing that I see in mind. And just I don't know, it's fun for me just being on this show. I haven't even been on for a full year, so that maybe that's contributing to
Yeah. So
that as
that's
well
what
for
I'm
me.
hearing is it's the best time to be a Star Wars fan because Duel of the Ranks exists. So
Yeah.
that's got to count for something. Now going back to the classic Battlefront thing you were talking about,
Mm.
what is that?
Oh, the Battlefront Classic Collection. So they're re-releasing Battlefronts 1 and 2, the ones that came out in 2004 and 2005, on all modern consoles. With all the updated content that there was like an Xbox Live patch that nobody played because it came out in 2006. No one had Xbox Live then. That has Asajj Ventress and Kit Fisto, and it brings back some of the Battlefront 1 maps, and it adds Hero Assault to all of the ground maps, so it's not just on Mos Eisley. Um, I mean, I've played all of this content via mods, but now it's going to be like a big release. It seems like a ton of fans are super excited about it. Um, and there's going to be 64 player servers. It's just going to be a really fun week next week. Just I'm going to
Wow.
play the heck out of that game. I think I want to get it on Switch and PlayStation actually, so because it's not going to be cross platform. It's going to be cross like generational, so PS4 can play with PS5, but you can't play with the Switch or the computer. So I
Uh,
might end up buying all versions of it, like on the PC so I can play with Bobby, PlayStation so I can play with you and Amanda, Switch so I can
mhm.
play with my older brother, because he's the one that got me into all this.
Yeah,
Um, but that's been,
that's awesome.
yeah, I'm super excited for that. I'm a big fan of those games. I don't think the gameplay's aged super well, but it's a good like I don't know. It's not just nostalgia. Those are great games and great maps. Good strategic gameplay from those
Yeah,
games.
I'm gonna have to. I have a Switch and a PS5. So I think I'm gonna have to get that on the Switch.
Nice. Yeah, it sounds so nice just laying in bed playing Battlefront on my little Nintendo. Like that's like the best life. That's
That is the best time.
I'm so
Yeah,
excited for that.
that's
And we're
cool.
also getting Bad Batch season 3 this year. We're we're getting through it. It's I do love like Echo's inclusion. I think Echo like I forgot how much I liked Echo until this episode. I'm like, man, he's like really a true classic clone. And that's like I wish he had been here the whole time to keep the show more grounded in its identity, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. I think he works great as like a leader, as a friend, as a brother. He seems to fill these different roles and to know when you should let Crosshair and Hunter just fight it out, or when you should break them up. Um, I think all of the characters now are very focused and very purposeful, whereas in the first season it took some time for them to kind of gain their footing, you know?
Yeah, totally. So what did the episode come out to overall?
Overall, it is at a 73.73. That's kind of cool and mathy.
That is so mathy.
Which is
Where does that
overall compared to the other. That's the lowest ranked so far this season. Um, which I still think is not really that bad. I don't know. I'm excited to hear Amanda's takes about it because there was nothing I really disliked about it. I just didn't think they pushed it super far in any interesting direction. Like the technical aspects for me was just like it's the same planet you've already seen, and I felt like they did less with it than in season 2. The immersive universe, I didn't think they really like pushed it too far. They advanced Crosshair and Hunter's relationship, but everything else is just kind of where it needs to be. But you seemed like you liked the immersive universe and connections more than I did. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I liked how they brought up the age range of Omega. I'm like, oh, okay, like there's something here that's like makes you curious. And you're like, why would there be another unaltered, well, I shouldn't say unaltered clone, slightly altered clone. But I'm like, that makes her even more closely related to Boba Fett than we had previously thought. So I'm like, what's the deal there? Are they ever going to tie to it? And it's funny because Boba just detests being associated with like clones.
Right.
And she's on the other side. She's like, they're all my family. And so, all those thoughts are going through my head. And then obviously they go back to that snow planet. And it's cool because that was like, it's from the story perspective, it's neat that this is the place where Crosshair's life changes completely. And he has this revelation about himself and about what he's been doing. And then he has to go back to that spot to also make peace with his brothers and make things right. And so, again, basically kind of completing his arc, so to speak, in that journey, in that what probably is really close to that exact same spot where he made that decision to shoot that officer is where he's deciding to bury the hatchet with Hunter. So, no, I mean, tying back to those like immersive universe elements to help the overall arc and story move along, I thought was really well done.
Yeah, I definitely felt that if there was one place they could go to that was like kind of low stakes and but gave them the room to dive into that character psychology, it would be that planet where he made that major decision. And I do love that moment where Crosshair takes the helmets and he puts them up on the table, whereas the Empire just left them scattered about. Helmets are very symbolic in Star Wars. It's what we leave behind. It's your real face, your identity in a way. And that episode was big for Crosshair's motivation and, realizing that clones are people. Maybe by extension that, like, regs are, or that other people are people, Not just clones, but Crosshair learned in that episode to care about people other than himself and other than this empire, this role that he was thrust into against his will, really,
Yeah, totally.
I mean, I said this last week too, where like, oh, it feels like now they're ready to hit the ground running. So I'm gonna stop saying that because like I don't know how many more episodes they're gonna take to like really get to the Rex stuff and to liberating Tantus. But I'm hoping it's soon, but I'm guessing it probably won't be till the second half of the season.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be interested to see where it goes. But overall, I mean, right now the Bad Batch for me. Look, I'm ready for some hot takes. I got some things to say. So, are you ready for this?
Ready?
I'm ready.
Let's just do it.
Let's just jump right into this. I got stuff.
Don't be too proud of this podcast you've constructed. The ability to rank content is insignificant next to the power of an exceptional hot take.
It's hot takes time.
And I've got
You
one.
got one ready.
I do. Look, it's not. This isn't proven right now by our scores because right now we have the Mandalorian sitting at a 78.73%, and the Bad Batch is sitting at a 72%. But I'm here to say with confidence that the Bad Batch is at least 2 times better of a story than Mando. Or Mando's, even his arc, his storyline. Like, what even kind of character is this guy? Like, they failed so epically with Mando as a character because you need to give your audience someone, even if not someone to root for, put them in the position where, they're making challenging decisions and we know enough about them. Like, he's such a vanilla character. And the Bad Batch has done such a good job, even with characters that you don't think would be that likable, that don't go that deep, getting you to at least somewhat care. And so the overall story, narratives, characters, arcs, it's just significantly better than The Mandalorian.
At least 2 times better, though? I'm not sure I can follow that. Because, Mando Season 3, I felt like dropped the ball, especially with all the commentary.
And that was their best season.
Season 3?
Yeah.
No, it was not.
Oh, it was.
Season 3 was... No, I loved everything up through Season 2 and the Boba Fett episode of The Mandalorian. But Season 3 was just like, where are they going with this? They obviously changed direction from when Toronto was going to be involved and all these other shows were going to tie in. And then Season 3 is like, Mando has like no motivation. He's just kind of there to support Bo-Katan, which I love Bo-Katan, but like to just hand her over the Darksaber was the opposite of the cliffhanger that Season 2 ends on. There was like this tension and this like drama that was about to unfold, and then it's just like, okay, she technically beat the guy that beat him, so she kind of owns it, but like that's where it really flopped for me. But like, if you're considering The Mandalorian as an entire series, I do think Bad Batch is so far, more interesting and more engaging, but I wouldn't say it's like significantly better.
From a story perspective alone, let's just think about what is The Mandalorian, okay? Let's break this down. You got this guy who lives by this code, and you have this mystery box format for the first episode. All right, it's interesting and it's engaging, but it's not telling this cohesive narrative arc. It's these little side quests and these little things here and there that kind of move this story along, and it honestly feels more like a sitcom in that way than it does an actual true narrative like you'd see with The Sopranos or Breaking Bad, or as true TV drama. Unfortunately, the way this show has been put together by the writers, it just doesn't support. So it's very everywhere the first season, which everyone forgives because it's unique, it's new, and it's fun. But overall,
it's got some progress. It's got some challenge for him, and
then the second season is just like, hey, we don't know how well this can stand on its own 2 feet. So here's Ahsoka, here's Boba Fett, here's Luke, here's Ahsoka. Here's, Bo-Katan. And so Season 3 is like finally like, all right, we're going to tell this story from A to Z. And it really was more like we're going to tell this story from A to S. Because by the end there, that's where they really dropped the ball. Whereas at least this other show, at least Bad Batch is really attempting to tell a cohesive story. That's my big point.
Okay. I think, okay, I'll agree with you on that one.
Roger.
All right, man. What do you got for me today?
Okay, this actually already feels like I feel guilty for saying this, but like I think I'll take Echo over Tech like any day, and that maybe like Tech shouldn't have existed from the beginning, and it should have just been Echo, because that's why they had to split them apart in Season 2, and why they had to kill one of them was because like they're both fulfilling essentially what's the same like tactical role, And Echo, I just find him so much more like, I do love that they ground it in the Clone Wars Origins, and it's still a Clone Wars show. It's a Clone Wars sequel with Echo around, and without him, it's like, yeah, the Bad Batch is cool. I love Ninja Turtles. Ninja Turtle Star Wars is great, but like, I don't know. I think I already kind of don't miss Tech a whole lot anymore, especially because they're not even really diving into that part of the story. I just feel like Tech's death like was sad when it happened, and they're already kind of over it. And unless he comes back, like that's kind of where this story feels like it's ending.
Yeah. So what's your take then?
That Echo's better than Tech.
That's it. All right. Yeah. I mean, I'll agree. Sure.
He's got a cool robot arm. He's got
Yeah.
he's got the Clone
Roger,
Wars.
man. I'm with you.
All right.
Tech overall, look, here's the problem with Tech. He deserved what he got, right? Like I think we can all agree.
Whoa, what does that mean?
He's a selfish, insignificant worm who deserves no.
Oh my! he just because he processes emotions differently doesn't mean he doesn't have them, as he says in his one good character moment in season 2.
No, I am convinced he's Pelagus.
Tech is Plagueis. Honestly, if Tech does come back, he's got to be a villain. Like, if he's gonna be resurrected, which like the more I think about it, and the more I'm like sitting on this, like the more I think it's inevitable. Sorry, Amanda, and sorry to that episode for getting a straight 0 across the board from her whenever it happens. But like, I do think that character deaths like are important, but they should have a lot of like weight and significance, and they should like just like with Crosshair changing sides willy-nilly. Like, yeah. I think it's got to have significant consequences. So I could see like Tech coming back kind of like Echo does in the Clone Wars, where it's like he's been under the Empire's mind control for this time, and they've kind of, reconstructed his body to like, serve their purposes, and that, it's going to be tough for the Bad Batch to have to kill him. But maybe that's where it's going to end up.
Yeah,
I don't
maybe.
know. It's the only way I see it working.
Or he has robot legs.
Robot legs.
Robot legs.
He just shattered his tibias when he fell from that amazing height.
Yeah. Exactly. That's the problem. He's going to come back just like Darth Maul. Okay. Bigger, badder, meaner. The Night Sisters revive him. Okay. Yeah. Turns out he was Pelagus all along, but he was like, it lied dormant. He actually is like a he is a part of him. He is the last necromancer that Pelagus poured himself into.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
He's a Horcrux.
Yeah.
Like a Pelagus Horcrux.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Pelagus is the necromancer. He's the Horcrux. Right. Yeah, and then so that's how he comes back. And I'm here to say, like, that's when they find a very special ring, and the Bad Batch has to get rid of it. And I think we could call them like that small band without Tech anymore. I think we can call them a fellowship more than a group. And they take this ring and they have to take it all the way to the Death Star at the heart.
Where it was forged?
Yeah, exactly. Where Tech was actually made, actually.
Not Kamino.
Yeah. Not Kamino.
They already blew up Kamino.
Yeah, they blew up Kamino, so we can't go back there. So somehow there was like another Death Star. That's the one he was made on. And so they have to take it back there. But he's evil now because he's possessed by Pelagus. And so they have to get rid of this ring. They do so, but the whole time, I mean, unfortunately it's Omega is the ring bearer in this case. And it's just wearing her down. Yeah, it's making her moody and all pissed off. But the problem is they don't know the way. So they have to find Sid again. But Sid, we've already learned, isn't trustworthy. It's like a little sneaky snake. And so she's like following Sid to this place because Sid's the only one that's like been there. But ultimately, they do get rid of it. Pelagus is destroyed. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, Tech finally actually dies now. But he gets closure with his brothers before it happens. There's like, 18 seconds of like, I didn't mean to. And then move along. And that's how the Bad Batch, I'm calling it, that's how this show actually ends.
I think that is like the best possible ending, and I think they should hire you um, for whatever next project they're doing. They are hiring animators, actually. That is something that I took note of this week. Was Lucasfilm is hiring animators. This obviously isn't the last animated project happening. I
Are you
mean,
applying?
I have zero. I no. I actually have like -30 experience in animation. Like it's so no. But I'm gonna binge whatever they give me. I just need it in my veins. If it's a Rebel reboot or if it has anything to do with Rebels, um, or if it's like in between episodes 8 and 9, following Rey, Finn, and Poe. So the more I think about it, I think that's like the biggest flaw with the sequel trilogy. I think people would have cared about it a lot more if those characters had been together through this entire journey from the beginning or from the middle of The Force Awakens, you know? Whereas Rey and Poe don't even meet till the end of Last Jedi. And then, like, I love the part at the beginning of The Rise of Skywalker where they're all buddies, but we just don't get enough of that to really care about them, you know, with everything else that they had to shove into that movie. The movie had to be 3 movies at once,
Yeah.
and it just, you know, I think without really caring about the relationships between the characters, that's the main thing that made the sequel trilogy fall flat.
We do bring up the sequel trilogy every single week.
I
I
gotta
think we just
defend
have
it.
to let it go. I think we just have to let it go and let it be what it was supposed to be, right? Let's stop trying to possess it. Let's stop trying to own it and let this thing be free.
Well,
Whatever.
the Bad Batch is trying. I mean, I think all of the extended universe is doing exactly what the Clone Wars did for the prequels, and I bring this up too a lot. Is, you know, filling in the gaps and making the story, you know, like somehow Palpatine returned. Like I kind of, yeah, I rolled my eyes at that in the theater, but like also it's very Star Warsy of them. It's not anything that the prequels didn't do, you know, or like it's. I don't think the sequels did anything that much worse than the prequels, or even like, you know, the original trilogy did some questionable story things. Like, I think any accusation you can make about the sequels, like, I could find a way to frame other Star Wars movies the same way. And it's like, what are we really talking about here? Did you enjoy the theater experience? Honestly, I enjoyed episode 9 more than 7 or 8 the first time I saw them.
Good
I was like,
gravy.
it was fun. It was crazy. It was wild, but like, you know, I felt better. I felt like I knew what I was getting into going into that movie. And that's, you know, I didn't project my own expectations into it. I just kind of went along for this ride. And I appreciated how it tied in every other Star Wars movie, you know? But I was
No,
able to accept that it wasn't, you know, very well made.
I'm not going to debate episode 9 with you this week. We do this every week. The
I
reality
got you.
is, the reality is, The Force Awakens was amazing, a masterpiece. Everything else just fell off a cliff after that. That cliffhanger they left us with, that's where the rest of the movies went. They just went right off, right behind Luke
It
Skywalker.
just
So,
overshot it and just fell
yeah,
on the ground.
completely. They just threw those things off a cliff. But going back to this, I am enjoying Bad Batch. I'm hoping it slow cooks its way up to a good story and find instead of just a fine story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see where this thing goes. But ultimately, right now, I definitely enjoying it more than Mando, as I said,
Mm-hmm.
without question. Mando just seems like it's completely lost
Yeah.
as the property there. So whatever's going on with that project, I'm not sure. I mean, I know they have their Mando and Grogu movie, but like,
Yay. Yeah, I'm really like starting to lose all interest in like that era of Star Wars now. Like it I really did think at a lot of times throughout the first couple of seasons of Mando that there was a lot of gravity to it. There were stakes, there was a purpose to it, and maybe it's because I projected my own personal experiences onto Mando, you know, with him questioning his life and his past and trying to find his place in the galaxy. And then season 3 just went back on everything that they progressed towards, which was him becoming independent and choosing to take off the helmet because he's his own man. And but they ended with him just Pedro Pascal wasn't even in season 3, like just his voice, and there was like he doesn't even need to be on the set for the movie if they're just gonna keep replaying the same story beats over and over and over again. But who knows? There's also that the other show with Jude Law. What's it called? Skeleton Crew. I almost said Skeleton Key. Skeleton Crew with Jude Law. It's going to be like, I think, slightly more younger audience focused. Like it follows a cast of kids. But that's also taking place in that time period. So have you put any thought towards that show or like what its
None.
significance is?
None. The only time I talk about Star Wars in my life right now is this show.
Mm.
And it's fun. I'm going to a Star Wars conference in like less than 2 months. And or whatever convention con, I don't know. But I'm like, outside of that, I don't even know many Star Wars fans anymore. I just go to these conventions and things and meet people. I never see them again, but like unless they show up to this podcast. But there's this love, and honestly, part of the reason I still go to these things is because when I meet people who just love Star Wars, it reminds me why I fell in love with Star Wars as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's talking with your friends at school about like, did you just see like, yeah, we've been watching Yoda fight Count Dooku for the last 2 years, but like we're still talking about it and like recreating lightsaber scenes and the video games and all that stuff. Like that's the magic of the whole thing. And so no, like we're unfortunately I think for Star Wars they've created so much content that for younger audiences it's going to deter a lot of people from even getting started on this journey because they're like, I don't even know where to start. And for a lot of audience members, that's just a tough pill to swallow. And so, I don't know. I would like to see, like KG in the comments said, it should be like Stranger Things.
Mm-hmm.
If it's younger, like have it be like that where all ages can enjoy, which I totally agree. I wonder if Stranger Things is my favorite show of all time. But that's
Really? I've never heard your take on Stranger Things.
What? Okay, so I just got back from Chicago today, and I was with my videographer, and I love Kate Bush's Running Up That Hill, and we'll play it. He just thinks it's a terrible song, thinks it's disgusting, and thinks the show's overrated. And I'm like, so I left him in Iowa.
Oh. Smoked him.
Oh, I just let him out. So he was at a gas station. I just left. No, start running up that hill.
Yeah, are there hills in Iowa? I don't.
There are some hills in Iowa. Yeah,
Okay.
I learned that today.
That song got really old because I was still listening to the radio instead of using my own playlists when I was driving
Oh.
over, and I can't stand that song anymore. But I did love the Metallica scene. That was like where half the budget for that season went was just for the rights to that song. Metallica is like the most expensive band in the world to use. But Stranger Things, I loved like the first season, and there was a really good video essay on it about how it's incredibly impactful because the kids don't win despite being kids. They win because they're kids, because they're able to see these problems from a different perspective, from a more open-minded perspective. And that's a storytelling technique that I'm trying to incorporate in anything I write, including Blop, the musical, which I finally finished the first script for the first episode. It's a very rough draft.
All right, for new plus, what is Blop? What's going on there?
Blop is the nickname for a character B10P. He's a battle droid who ends up coming into his own consciousness and rebelling against the CIS and the Trade Federation and starting a droid revolution and finding love. That's really what it's all about at the end of the day. Is Blop's journey to loving himself and loving others. And then it's probably going to end up just an audio drama or something because I have zero animation skills, as I mentioned earlier. But it's a fun story, and it's just my way to kind of see the Star Wars universe through, or to portray the Star Wars universe and these events of the movies and in between them through my own eyes.
Wow. So how would you get someone or something to sound like a B1 battle droid for this audiobook?
To sound like it? Oh, like you can just have a soundboard with audio or voice changers. I can pretty much just be reading the script straight off the page and just hold the S key whenever I'm doing the battle droid versus when I'm doing the tactical droid versus when I'm doing Grievous's voice or whatever. I think there's a really fun way to tell this story, and I'm very daunted by actually making it like a visual thing or like an animation, but the story is going now, and it's finally like concrete and real, and I shared it with my friend and he gave me some notes on it, so it's finally moving forward.
Wow, I'm excited. Yeah, I don't know. I would love to see a story like that in Star Wars, whether it's Skeleton Crew or anything else. We'll see. I've
Yeah,
got hope, I've got hope they'll do something good again. Um,
I'm hoping to be like pleasantly surprised by Skeleton Crew. Like Bad Batch was the show that nobody wanted at first either, you know, and then we're like, oh wait, this is kind of cooking. This animation is beautiful. The tie-ins to the larger lore are amazing. The design is like the best, some of the best design in all of Star Wars. They're bringing in old Ralph McQuarrie stuff and new stuff and all kinds of monsters and creatures. Everything that I love about Star Wars is in this show, and it
yeah.
doesn't rely on familiar characters or cameos. I mean, there are some sprinkled throughout, but it's, you know, the story of a family coming together, just like rebels, to find a larger purpose and to save the rest of their clone homies on Tantus.
Mm, I don't
And
think
it's
there's a better
Skeleton
way to
Crew.
close out this episode. You just tied the whole thing back together.
I should have held on to that one. Darn.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's it, man.
You're trying to dip. I mean, I felt like we got a lot of good content in 40 minutes.
I think we did too. I mean, you ended by plugging the upcoming project Blop.
Mm-hmm.
I
I did want to say I am going to post the script in our Discord server, and we are working on getting the link on our website to that working, so people can jump in there, join in the conversation. We have forums in there for discussing the Bad Batch and all things related to Star Wars, and a large section of it actually was, this was my idea, to devote it towards fan fiction. Just I want everyone to come in and tell their own stories, tell whatever wacky pseudo canon stuff you want to. Just share your ideas, you know, get them out there, even if they're not super well written. Lord knows Blop is not very coherent. My voice is all over the place with it, but it's fun, and that's all it really has to be.
yeah. Are we going to be bringing guests back on this show? Is that a thing? Are we going to do that again?
I would love to. Yeah, we've been kind of just plugging away at, you know, busy with life and just getting these episodes out here. But oh yeah, Master of Puppets, Eddie killed it. And don't you forget it. It's so good. Metallica rules, and that episode ruled. So I'm excited for everything else coming up this year. I think Skeleton Crew could be one of those fun surprises, and hopefully it's at least like conscious in its direction with the story, because it's the next. It really is like just the next episode of the Mandoverse. It's tying into it, and we'll see where it goes. Hopefully it brings some life, sparks some interest back into that plot line that is kind of fallen flat.
But you know, it hasn't fallen flat. Duel of the Ranks. For the listeners who are checking out this episode today and they want more Duel of the Ranks content, where can they go, Brian?
They can go to our website, dueloftheranks.com, where you can find all our socials, connect with us. You can submit your own hot takes, and we'll get that in an email, and we'll include that in our hot takes segment. Join in the show. If you can't join in the live recordings, then just contribute however you can. Come join the conversation. We love meeting new fans and debating all things Star Wars.
Yep, what he said.
Yeah.
Ditto. DuelTheRanks.com, 7 p.m. Central Time every Thursday, folks. You know what time it is. It's time for us to wrap. But we'll see you again next week. With that,
That's been it.
may the Force be with you. I don't really close with that very much. But
We'll catch you on the flippity flip.
yeah, flippity flip, y'all. See you there.
Flippity flip, hook 'em horns.